Hey everybody, today we're putting, well, I'll tell you the truth, it was like this. I saw a guy with a 2016 truck. Mine's a 2015 Chevy 3500, and he had a remote control lock that worked with the door locks. So I gotta have that. So, we bought the pop&lock. This is model PL8140. Now, this is a full-size bed with a full 4 doors. And I'm thinking that this wire that they send you might not be enough to get all the way up to the door switch. We'll find that out as we go along here. Anyway, this is a nice little design. I'm not sure exactly how it goes on the thing here, but here we are. Putting it in. The instructions look pretty simple. Remove a C-clip or something and just basically pop the thing on there. So I'll get back with you when we get a little bit farther into it. Or heck, what the heck, we might as well just start here. See what happens. So I've been taking out the little, I don't know what size torque bit that is, but taking apart the old tailgate here. I believe this is a fairly simple job. And of course, this unit here, I suppose, has a little bit of wire that's going to feed from here through the hole, and this is what you would disconnect if you actually wanted to take the tailgate off. And then these wires here have a plug. Well, it looks like you got just 2 wires, so you're going to tap these into the system somewhere. And I suppose if you needed to make them longer, you know, just add some more length on there and you're good to go. It's fairly light gauge wire. It's nothing special. I see there's a little clip here I'm going to have to study on. So let's see what we got underneath here. I got the last 2 screws out. Nice. Let's take a look-see here. Well, this thing is going to sit on top of here somewhere. And we'll get back to that in a minute. You guys, they've done a really nice job on this. Here's what you're going to do. This little finger right there, right? That's just going to drop down right in there. Right in here. So you've got this one from the key lock that moves this thing back and forth. And then you've got this one here. It's operated by this thing. When this plunger goes in and out, this whole thing moves back and forth, see? To work the mechanism. And literally you just take the bolt out, drop that over the bolt, and then this thing hole goes over this little plastic piece here, screw the bolt back in, and it's mounted. And it doesn't get any easier than that. So I got a little confused on the first step here. I noticed the it says to, well, obviously this clip has to go this way, but that little tang looks like it's going underneath. And I'm thinking, well, how am I going to slide that way to get that tang to come out from underneath there? Well, it's really not going underneath, it just looks like it is. There. Only had to move it a little bit that way, and now you can see the end. So we got to pry a little screwdriver underneath there just to lift it high enough so you can slip that off of there, and then we'll pull this little bracket off. And then this little one goes in place of it. Alright, so here's the cam, and you notice the switch just kind of spring loaded. It goes one way or the other. Anyway, this goes right on here, like the instructions show, and they provide an E-clip that came underneath the tape right there, and that is going to go on here now to hold that in position. There we go. Got the E-clip. I just slid it on this way, just slide it underneath there, and that's all there is to putting the cam on. The wire harness, poked it up through the hole, fish it out, got it up here, and of course, just for me, and I don't want to get in here again, I'm going to use a little squirt of the old white lithium grease in each little connection there just to make sure I don't get any corrosion, and then we're on to running the wire all the way up front. And I went ahead and added 1 zip tie here, and one over here down to the plastic body just to hold that wire. Make sure I get up in there on the insulation anyway, so it doesn't rub. You can see the wire coming out. I got enough to go all the way to the front of the truck, so I think there's enough here that I don't need an extension in there. I'm going to try and maybe tap in. I don't know where I'm going to tap in. Somewhere in here you're supposed to tap in, so I might come in from the back and go up there. Here's the tricky part. So there's a bunch of wires in here. I start out with a smaller brown and with a yellow stripe here. Remember, this is a 2015 3500 High Country. Got a smaller brown and white, or brown with yellow stripe here, and a smaller gray right here. Those didn't seem to work, so I found a bigger brown and yellow here, brown with yellow stripe, and a slightly larger gray back there in the background right here, and those two seem to work. Hate tearing into wiring, but that's what you got to do. The problem is that when you come back here, this mechanism, you can see what it's doing there. It's locking fine, but it's not unlocking. It's only going that far. This needs to click up here in order to lock. So what I'm going to do is put a small piece of tubing around that little arm that's sticking down there to see if it'll make that thing move up just that much farther. Alright, the tape solution around the metal bar there did not work. It interfered with the back piece back here for the key lock. So what I ended up doing was taking some small plastic tubing and putting them around this to make them a little bit bigger. Makes basically that gap in between those two forks a little narrower. Now it works like a charm. Goes all the way up, goes all the way back. It's almost like this piece here was cut a little too narrow, so I just had to narrow that gap up between those forks. Alright, so here's a few tips. First off, when you, at least this is what I do, I never cut a wire in two. Very carefully get a very sharp box cutter or something and just shave that insulation off until you can get it kind of cleaned up all the way around, and leave yourself a 1/4 of an inch or so of bare wire here. But don't cut it in two, otherwise you got to splice the whole thing. Same way with this one down here. The other thing I do, I don't trust those connector things. They're bulky. Sometimes they work. They can get faulty. I solder everything. It's just more positive. Now when you're soldering, best way to make sure you get a good connection, first off, use some kind of flux. Okay, and the wire I use, the solder is actually it's a flux based solder also, just with a soldering iron. Get her nice and hot. Now the wire, you can see here I come in through that hole. I came in on that angled part of that grommet right there. It's a nice clean hole. I'm not even going to put a grommet in there because it fits so nice. That thing will just lay down and it'll never cut through there because it's not going to wiggle at all. And when I ran the wire, I just ran it up next to the frame rail. I've got a lot of extra, and I ran it up along here so it's easy to get to if I ever have to. The plug to disconnect it is right there, but I have enough slack that I think I can pull this all the way back down to the back, so when you take the tailgate off, it'll be a lot easier to get to. There's another connector for the web camera, or for the backup camera on a bracket up there, so I'll probably move this to that location just so it's easy to find. And that about does it for the job. It's not too noisy. I'll go ahead and work it here. You can hear it. Not bad. And that's it.